What's going on, everybody? Jared here, and obviously I am not in my normal studio. I am here in Austin, Texas, and I was supposed to be here for South by Southwest, but as you all know, the coronavirus, really canceled that event for everyone. And I wanted to kind of talk about that coronavirus and how it is really affecting, or how the movie industry is responding to this event, because a lot of you guys know out there, there's a lot of cancellations of events, festivals, screenings of these movies. So kind of before I get into the rundown of all of these cancellations and what I think the repercussions or consequences or effects of what's going on with the coronavirus are going to be, let me know what you guys think are going to be some solutions for movie theaters, or how you feel about this essentially coronavirus and how this is going to affect everything moving forward. Now, getting into this from the get-go, looking at the rundown here, a few movies recently have been canceled or postponed or kind of been held indefinitely for the movie theaters. For example, Mulan. It was going to get a huge box office bump over in China, obviously, but China is sort of the epicenter of the coronavirus, so they essentially, or Disney, put a postponement, or they're holding off on the premieres and the release of the showings over in Europe, over in other countries, but here in the United States they were going to release this movie in about 2 weeks. So that's one of the biggest kind of postponements or hold-offs of these movies because of this virus, because of box office, and also because of safety. You cannot forget about safety, because this is something that not anyone really even knows about yet. And how to cure it, and vaccines and all of that stuff. So that's Mulan, but then we go next a little further, which I don't even know if Mulan is going to show in a couple weeks. That's up in the air, to be honest. So next up we had James Bond, No Time to Die. That was coming out in about a month, and then last week it was announced that they were moving it. I think MGM was moving it back to November, which I understand. It kind of makes business sense because they're scared of the overall box office, because I looked up in the last few James Bond films with Daniel Craig, 75% of the box office was made overseas. So obviously if there's problems with illness, viruses, people not going to theaters shutting down, that's going to be a huge cut into their margins. So that film moved from, in about a month, April 10th, I believe, to November, the weekend of Thanksgiving. So again, moving away from this essentially virus into a different spot, potentially, all of the other James Bond, my understanding, the Daniel Craig ones were released in November, so that makes sense moving that film. But obviously, with the coronavirus in mind, that's also why they moved it. Another film coming out around that time in April or Easter time was Peter Rabbit 2. I don't know, the Hop Hops. I don't know what the sequel name is. But that was geared to be a Easter movie. It's bunnies, obviously. I'm sure there's an Easter egg in the movie. That one got postponed as well. It's going to, I believe, November. So that's another movie that this coronavirus is really having to move the release date, have an effect on this movie industry, I guess. So that's not a big one, but that's another movie that's moving. And then today, a big one that honestly might set a precedent for a lot of movies moving forward, because again, we don't know how long this coronavirus is going to be around. We don't really know anything about it. I'm not a medical professional, but what I had read, and this is very casual reading, but the amount of time it takes to get a vaccine created or do the research is about a year. So, if this continues to escalate for another year, we're going to see a lot more of these cancellations and whatnot. So this is obviously becoming more of a big thing that we're dealing with. But one of the big ones is A Quiet Place 2. This movie was coming out in 1 week, and John Krasinski and the studio came out today, earlier this morning, about an hour ago, and they said that they are postponing, they are halting this movie, they are moving it off onto a later date because of, obviously, the coronavirus. So again, this is a bigger movie. This is probably April's biggest movie. So I'm curious on how this is going to have an effect on Black Widow, Fast 9, any sort of blockbuster coming in the summer if this continues to escalate, if this continues at the progress that it's going. So I guess my thing coming up next is how is this going to affect the overall industry, the overall movie industry? Is this going to cut into theater box office? Is this going to shut theaters down? Is this going to have the rise of streaming? Is this going to just kind of kill theaters in general? This form of media, of entertainment, is this going to very much kind of almost dwindle into something that people just don't go into anymore? Well, I think that there's 3 different things that I really want to talk about. I mean, because before I get into my 3 different things, let me know what you guys think of kind of what's going on with these movie postponements. Are you scared of this virus? Are you not going out to the movie theater because of this? Kind of let me know in the comments down below. I'm very curious on how other people are really reacting or kind of putting this whole instance in perspective. But the 3 different things that I have written down is that this could potentially hurt theater chains and could shut some down. I wouldn't say entirely overnight like Cinemark or AMC or Regal is going to disappear, but it could obviously cut into their margins, cut into their profit, and they could shut down some of those theaters that they see are not profitable or aren't the money makers. And I mean, they can still show older movies if they're not bringing in these newer, bigger releases and maybe some smaller movies are coming in. Sure, they can show those, but is that going to draw the crowds into these theaters? Because these theaters thrive on concessions and people. So if you're not getting people in there, you can't sell concessions because they're making... I have not worked at a movie theater, but I don't know if they're really making a profit from the actual movies, the movie tickets, because a lot of that money is going back to the theaters or the studios rather. So I think that could honestly, if people aren't going out to the movie theaters or movie theaters are shutting down, and also if they are open, I mean, it's putting their employees at in danger, because if they do get the virus from working, that's a problem. So it's this thing where it's like, do you keep the theaters open? And if you keep them open, are people going to show up? Are those people that show up going to then in turn spend more money there? Or is this going to be something that people are staying away from for now? So it could be this thing where theater chains are seeing a big hit because you're not bringing big name movies in, and therefore people aren't going out to the theater. So that's one. Number 2 is I think that this could potentially see the rise of streaming. This could be Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, hell, even Crackle. This could be the rise of those platforms, because therefore people aren't going out to the movies, but they want to watch movies. So whatever's on these streaming platforms, people are going to watch. So this could be in turn a huge bump, a huge opportunity for these streaming platforms. But also it could be an instance where a theater, for example, will say out Bloodshot. Even though Bloodshot is in theaters right now, a movie like that potentially might not getting that much money into, I guess, box office wise for that film. Could it be a thing where the studio makes a negotiation with Netflix or Hulu and just sells the property to them? Again, Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, whoever the streaming platform is, they have to make a deal with them. They're sort of the ones that have the upper hand in this situation. So it's kind of this weird thing where our movies that are ready to go, that are sitting on the shelf, that are ready to be, seen for people, are they going to ship them off to streaming platforms? So if they start to do that, the theaters are getting or the studios are getting profit, or they're getting money for those films, probably at a discount, because again, these streaming platforms have the upper hand in the negotiations. So it could be a thing where streaming platforms become more of a draw for people. More people are staying home because it's easier for them. They don't want to go outside and risk the potential of getting sick or catching any sort of anything. It's like, hey, we're sitting at home, we're safe, we can watch these movies on TV in the quietness of our own home. Obviously, you're defeating the purpose of this big screen experience, but I'm curious if that's going to be the rise of these streaming platforms. And then the last thing, the number 3, is I remember hearing about this, and I had to do some research to see if this was still a thing. And I don't think it is. It was mentioned in 2010 and then a little bit more in 2014. But the setup of essentially a system, and what they have right now, and I don't know if it's even a thing still, is Prima Cinema, which is essentially a streaming box that goes straight into your home, and you can watch newly released movies at home. But this is coming at a huge premium because in 2014, the information that I found was that this box alone was $35,000. So do you have $35,000? I don't have $35,000. And then to stream an individual movie was $500. And I understand that you can bring over as many people as you want. You could essentially have people like 500 people watch the movie at your house, I guess. I don't know. I'm throwing out examples. It's very extreme, but it's a thing where are movie theaters going to see this as a viable option because people aren't leaving their homes? They want to show these movies. We're going to put them out on this somewhat affordable platform, charging maybe an excessive premium, but those hardcore movie fans that want to see that movie right away rather than waiting or potentially never even seeing it, are they going to pay for that upscale price to see these movies? So it could be the rise of not only those streaming platforms, Netflix and Hulu and whatnot that I had mentioned earlier, but it could be this essentially box, a new box. You know, you have your Blu-ray player, you have your PlayStation or Xbox, and then you have this theater box that is giving you straight from the movie theater experience movies, but obviously on a bigger screen, lesser sound, unless you yourself have a home entertainment system, which in turn, if this does become the standard moving forward, because again, I don't know how long this is going to go, but if this streaming these opening weekend movies at home, that's going to make people go out and buy a bigger screen, buy bigger sound, buy theater seating, or buy more comfortable, like almost the rise of the home entertainment theater experience could then in turn go off the charts. Like you could see the sale of these bigger TVs and bigger sound systems from Best Buy and whatnot expand, like just explode, increase and whatnot. So it could be a thing where theaters are more of a premium or more of a luxury, and people are just watching these movies at home. So it's very weird kind of what is happening with all of these movies, because I'm sure in the next coming weeks, there's going to be even more information about what the hell is going on, what movies are being postponed, because honestly, I think the next one is going to be Black Widow, because that comes out at the beginning of May, and then following that is going to be Fast 9. So we'll see if those get postponed, canceled. I wouldn't say canceled, but more than likely postponed. Yeah, quick edit, because I just opened up my phone right after I filmed this, and it looks like Fast and Furious 9 is postponed back to 2021. So yeah, quick edit. From the time I started to the time I ended recording, there was another film that dropped out. I'm sure by the time I get this uploaded to YouTube, Black Widow will drop out. So yeah, even more films. This is crazy. And how is this going to affect essentially 2020's release calendar? Because theaters, studios, they plan out everything way in advance. So is this going to throw a monkey wrench into all of that? Is this going to hurt their bottom line? Is this going to potentially halt smaller movies or other movies from being made or being greenlit because of the profit that's being essentially pushed off to later in the year? Because, for example, James Bond, that would have made, the last one I believe made about $1 billion worldwide. If you don't have $1 billion until later on in the year, how is that going to affect your business? Are people going to be fired? Are movies not going to be made? This is a very curious situation, and again, it might be reactionary and whatnot, but I want to know what you guys think. Those are my thoughts of kind of, you know, the news and whatnot of what's been going on and the viable options of, in turn, what could happen from this coronavirus and what the hell is going on. So let me know what you think is a viable option for these movies. Do you think that I'm overreacting? Do you think that this is going to disappear in about 2 weeks? Do you think this coronavirus is just a fad, a trend? Let me know in the comments down below. Anyways, though, as always, thank you so much for watching. Watch some more videos up there or over there. I'm going to be honest, I don't even know. Brand new stuff. I'm going to try to get a review of The Hunt and Bloodshot. I don't know what's going on, honestly, around what's going on here. Follow all of my social media, like this video, subscribe to the JBuck Studios channel, and until next time, we'll see you later.